Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to our Thursday night show. It's basically, tonight's going to be a continuation from last week, dealing with acute and chronic pain. There's an old saying that it's mind over matter. If you don't mind, it won't matter. So anyway, pain takes on many different phases, and it can be extremely debilitating to the point where people want to take their own lives because they can't deal with it. And there's also the psychological component to pain. A number of years ago, and this is God's honest truth, a true story, had a woman that had migraine headaches. I treated her for a year and a half, could not get any resolution or reduction in her pain. And 3 years after she left the practice, she called me up one day. She said, "Dr. Smith, you remember me, Rose?" I said, "Yeah, I remember you. How you doing?" She says, "Fantastic." I said, "How's your headaches doing?" She says, "I have no more migraines." I said, "What'd they do for you?" She said, "Nothing." I said, "Well, what happened?" She said, "Lou died." She said, "As soon as my husband died, my migraine headaches disappeared completely." So there is a psychological component to pain. Don't kid yourself. And, that convinced me 100% that there's emotional issues. Of course, there's also other components. So we're going to do a little dog and pony show today. I have some slides to go over, and then Dr. Stanley Ngui is going to pick up for the last half of the program. And he has some of his miraculous technology that he wants to share with everybody. So basically, acute and chronic pain, myself and Dr. Stanley Ngui, and detoxification advanced course. I have a course that's coming up. It's going to be available online. It's going to be the key to anti-aging, quality of life, and longevity. And it'll be available after April 22nd. And it's approved by the World Organization for Natural Medicine, which is an international group. So the 22nd, we're going to do a preliminary to go over about detoxification. And those who are interested in the advanced information, you can subscribe to it. So anyway, there's many supplements out on the market. I mean, thousands of them. And when you're in clinical practice, you usually narrow it down to a handful that you work with because you get consistent results. So tonight I'm just going to be presenting 18 nutrients that can reduce pain, and they're food-based. I'm not a believer in synthetic vitamins. They're okay for robots, but not for real human beings. So about 23 years ago, I had a herniated disc, and I couldn't even bend down to put my socks on. And one of the products that I used very successfully was Pain Guard. It's quercetin by Perk. And it's a fantastic anti-inflammatory, and also helps to metabolize the waste products that create pain, the cytokine storm, so to speak. And 4 tablets 4 times a day between meals. And, after about 4 or 5 days, I was able to literally bend down and put my socks on. So that's one product that I use consistently. I'm not into the NSAID drugs or any of the chemical poisons because the adverse effects are like they create more problems than they solve. Standard Process is one of the few companies, or the only company that I'm aware of, that breaks their B vitamins into Cataplex B and Cataplex G. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But their Cataplex G basically stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, and so does organic minerals. So the key is that most chronic pain patients, or even acute, are going to be more sympathetic dominant, meaning it's like your foot's on the gas pedal and your car's racing, and so is your body racing. And the Cataplex G and organic minerals is like putting the brakes on in your car. It kind of slows everything down and calms the whole nervous system. So again, most chronic pain patients are going to be sympathetic dominant. And I find that to be very, very effective. Magnesium orotate. Most people don't realize it, but mother's milk supplies the minerals to the baby in the orotate form. It's extremely it dissolves very quickly, very absorbable into the system. And again, it stimulates the parasympathetic or the brakes of your nervous system to calm you down. So 800 to 1200 milligrams a day is what's recommended. You can take 1-2 times a day. And again, depends on how you're doing. It also helps with sleep. So if you're having trouble falling asleep, the magnesium will help relax your body. Magnesium is also involved in 73% of the enzymatic reactions of the body. And unfortunately, there's about 75% of the population, at least in America, that's deficient in magnesium because they don't get enough greens. Anything that's green, except money. Money doesn't have magnesium in it, but at least the US dollar, it's more anemic than anything else. But kale, collard greens, Swiss chard, they all have magnesium in it. So it's a great detoxifier of the liver and quiets down your whole nervous system. Okay. C3 curcumin, we use Designs for Health. And one of the reasons why I like their formula is that it has lecithin, which you need to get absorbed through the cell membrane. And if you don't have a fat along with it, the effectiveness is going to be dramatically reduced. So again, it detoxes the cytokines, excuse me, the leukotriene B4, the bradykinin, and the prostaglandin E2. These are substances that cause pain and inflammation. And, I take it every day, curcumin, just because it helps the liver process the chemicals that it pulls out of the blood. Very, very important product. Zymescence. This is probably the best systemic enzyme on the planet. And the reason being is that it's 12 to 16 times more potent than chymotrypsin. Bottom line is it helps to keep the blood from being sticky. It's anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, mildly antiviral. And more importantly, it dissolves foreign proteins. So it's good for cancer patients, good for infections. And even more importantly, it dissolves away fibrosis or scars in the body. I've had patients with high blood pressure, and one patient, after 2 weeks, his blood pressure went back to normal because it literally dissolved out the fibrosis or scarring in the microcapillary system of his body, and the blood was able to flow through the tissues more easily. And bottom line was his blood pressure went back to normal. I have patients who tell me that their surgical scars from 20, 30 years ago, after 6 to 9 months of taking this, they're disappearing. So when you're in your 20s, your pancreas is producing a lot of enzymes. When you cut yourself and it's healing, the pancreatic enzymes control the amount of scarring that takes place. After age 27, the amount of pancreatic enzymes diminishes. So you wind up with keloids or scarring in the tissue where the injury was. And when you take the zymescence, it literally dissolves away the excess scars. So it's a pretty amazing product. It's also good people who have acne and they've had scarring from the acne. It'll help to reduce it. You take it internally. Okay. So the omega-369 is basically my own version of CBD oil. It's pretty miraculous because it has 4 different CBD products that I've cloned, and their vibrational frequency is in the oil. And this stuff is like Sunoco racing fuel in the sense that you really get a good positive reaction. And basically you have the endocannabinoid system, which is one of the largest receptor systems in the entire body. It resets the cell membranes back to normal. So because my product is so potent, just 3 to 6 drops a day orally away from food will help get some positive results. That's available at ghsdoc.com. Oh, what happened there? Oh. Oh, my slides disappeared on me. Okay, there we go. Let's see here. B complex vitamins, again, Standard Process is the only lab that I'm aware of that has Cataplex B, which has like thiamine, folic acid, B6.
Excuse me, Doc. You need to reshare your screen so we can see it, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. What happened to the screen? Okay, can you see it now? Yeah. Jared, can you see it now?
Yep, we got you now.
I'm sorry. Okay. So the B complex vitamins, especially the thiamine, the B1, helps improve nerve function. People have numbness in their hands or the feet, or they're getting up in the night and they can't fall back to sleep. The Cataplex B literally helps to metabolize the lactic acid, pyruvic acid, butyric acid, and other waste products so that the adrenals can calm down and then go back to sleep. But more importantly, it helps with nerve function. And that's really, really important. You know, the B vitamins basically metabolize your protein, fats, and carbohydrates. But in chronic pain patients, invariably there's an imbalance going on between the in the autonomic nervous system, usually sympathetic dominant. So you can use Cataplex G, which is the lipotropic factor for breaking down fats. It has like niacin in it, choline, and inositol, for example. And if you give more Cataplex G, you're going to help calm down the sympathetic nervous system. And by giving about half the amount of Cataplex B, you get the full complement of B complex, but you're skewing the physiologic effects. So you want to calm down the system. And that's, like I said, one of the only companies that I'm aware of in the world that has these two products. Very, very important. Ecothyroid is basically freeze-dried thyroid tissue without the actual hormone. Comes in 37 milligrams or 125. It's my nutritional specialties. And again, in my clinical experience, most chronic pain patients have low thyroids. And what happens is when people get diagnosed with fibromyalgia, invariably they have a low thyroid. Why? Because the metabolic wastes build up in all the cells of the body, and that's why they have diffuse pain patterns all over the place. Every patient that I've treated successfully with fibromyalgia had an underactive thyroid. When I got the thyroid working, their fibromyalgia disappeared. These pain management docs are basically just treating the wagging tail of the dog by treating the pain. They're not really getting a home run, getting to the underlying cause of the problem. Calcium D-glucarate, again, Designs for Health. Again, most chronic female pain patients are estrogen dominant. Calcium D-glucarate inhibits an enzyme in the intestines called beta-glucuronidase, which enables the tagged hormones to be reabsorbed in the intestines. So by inhibiting this action, it ensures the excess estrogen to be excreted. So, with some of these millennials waking up one day and they want to be a female, well, if you give them enough calcium D-glucarate, you'll switch them back to their genetic form. It's basically too much estrogen from all the plastics and chemicals in our environment that's throwing their hormones out of balance. Oh, let me see. So the Liver ND is really a fantastic product. It supports rapid pain relief, often clearing pain within minutes. It also supports your body's natural histamine process and cellular DNA repair. Most importantly, the Liver ND facilitates optimal liver and gallbladder cleansing. We also use the Liver ND with clay packs. So if you have areas of pain in the skin, for example, or you have toxins in the skin that are coming out, by mixing the Liver ND with the clay, either marillonite, or some of the other clays from around the world, you basically draw the toxins out through the skin, because the clay has a negative polarity and the toxins invariably, like heavy metals or chemicals, have a positive polarity. So that's why it draws it out through the skin effectively. capsaicin or capsaicin. It's basically from cayenne pepper, and I buy it from Star West Botanicals, and I usually get 90K potency, which is literally like gunpowder. You got to take really small quantities of this stuff. But basically, it works by depleting substance P, which is a compound that conveys the pain sensation from the peripheral part of the nervous system to the central nervous system. So it reduces pain, takes several days, to experience relief. It's also anti-cancerous and increases blood supply because it dilates the blood vessels. I make a drink about 3 times a week, and I put some of this Sunoco racing fuel, this capsaicin, in it, and gives you a nice little jolt in your circulatory system. Cordyceps, one of my favorite remedies for chronic pain and a multitude of other things, and I get it from Stanley Ngui. His product is like the best on the planet. And I'm not just trying to hype it up, people. Most of the cordyceps that are produced, it's either Canada or the United States, and the quality is just not there. It's cheaper, but you don't get the bang for your buck. With Stanley's cordyceps, I'm telling you, it's like Sunoco racing fuel. It'll kill viruses, reduces pain. It's anti-inflammatory, anti-aging. And a rat study showed a 2x increase in lifespan. Taking the cordyceps increases your mental clarity. It's adaptogenic, meaning if you have a underfunctioning organ like your thyroid, it'll help bring it up. If your adrenals are overworked and stressed out, it'll help bring it down into homeostasis or balance. It also increases your oxygenation and stamina. So if you like to play tennis or golf or ride a bike or any type of physical activity, I'm telling you, you take this stuff in the morning, like I'll take a tablespoon, and I'll tell you, you'll think you're the Energizer Bunny, because by the end of the day, you're not going to be exhausted. Omega-6, omega-3, clinician's preference, it's 11-to-1 ratio. And unfortunately, most physicians still are under the false narrative that omega-3 is more important than omega-6. The unfortunate situation is that most of the studies that were done with adulterated omega-6, and it has a bad rap that it's pro-inflammatory. Organic whole-pressed omega-6 is anti-inflammatory. And the reason why I can categorically say that omega-6 is more important than omega-3, because you just look at the tissues of the body. Your brain has 100-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3. Your skin has 1,000-to-1 ratio of omega-6 to omega-3. Your organs and the tissues have a 4-to-1 ratio. The adipose tissue has a 22-to-1 ratio of 6-to-3. And your muscles have a 6.5 ratio of 6-to-3. So if all these organs and tissues have a higher concentration of 6-to-3, how in the world can omega-3 be more important than omega-6? It's lunacy. But, you tell a lie one time, it's still a lie, but you tell the same lie 1,000 times, becomes the truth. So it basically helps to kill viruses. It's effective against the COVID-19 virus, reduces pain, anti-inflammatory, anti-aging, produces DEA and EPA for better brain function. Your brain only needs 7.2 milligrams a day of each. And when you start taking these fish oils, you're getting like 650 milligrams plus effect. All fish oils are rancid and toxic to the body. Devil's Claw, great product. It helps reduce back pain, anti-inflammatory, suppresses one's appetite. So if anyone's looking to, lose weight, little duct tape and a little Devil's Claw works wonders. Feverfew works great for headaches, especially migraines, nausea, earache, muscle tension. Again, these herbs have been around for, probably over 1,000 years, and they work. It's just you want to get the highest quality that you can get your hands on. And in my experience, Star West Botanicals has really very high quality herbs. So ginseng, again, there's all kinds of ginsengs from China, from the US, from Korea, and I have to get the final word from Stanley. When he gets on, he can give his opinion. But I'm not sure if it's the Chinese ginseng or the Korean ginseng, which is the best. But again, it depends on what part of the country and the cultivation and so forth. But it's very effective as anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, improve memory, boost your immune system, and increase your energy. It's a good tonic. And again, I use Star West botanicals. Boswellia, it's actually an Indian frankincense. It's great for cluster headaches, which I believe has to do with liver toxicity. Anti-inflammatory, improves joint pain, neurological trauma. It helps to reduce damage in the nervous tissue, and also great for Crohn's disease. Any of these diseases, you have to come to the understanding. You have to define the splinters or the initiators. And if you just keep throwing darts at patients, you may get lucky a few times, but you're going to hit a brick wall when you get that patient that nothing's working on. You'll have to define what the heck's in the intestines. It could be a trapped vaccine from childhood. It could be mercury. It could be parasites. It could be any combination of things. Glyphosate causes leaky gut, leaky brain. So you really have to define what the heck that core issue is and address it properly. Okay. Vitamin D3, it has like 20 different functions. You got to be careful with D3. There's a lot of products that are on the market that are literally made from lanolin that's exposed to radiation that will convert it to D3. And the natural source, they take the mushrooms and expose it to sunlight, and that converts the D2 to D3. And the kidneys, I believe, convert the D2 to D3. So it boosts the immune system. It's great for cancer. Cancer patients, you have to have between 70 and 100. I think it's deciliters per milliliter. And, most doctors think that 40 level is adequate. No, for most people, 50 to 70. If you have cancer, you want to get it up close to 100. It's anti-inflammatory, improves joint pain. I had a friend, he had a shoulder pain, and nothing worked until he took D3, and it took his shoulder pain away within several days. Improves hypertension, and it's great for depression. Okay, so basically, that's my presentation. And Stanley, what's your take on the ginseng?
Okay, my take on the ginseng, there are 3 different types of ginseng specifically. Okay, the Asian ginseng or the Chinese ginseng, which is red. We have the American ginseng, which is neutral. The red ginseng means that it's yang or very active. Okay, the American ginseng is neutral, so it's neither way. So when you take those, it's not really, you can't feel the effects of it quite as well. And then lastly, we have the Siberian ginseng, which is actually cold. So ginseng is not ginseng. It could be completely the opposite. So we have to be careful, what kind of ginseng we take for what reasons. Okay. The other thing to remember, taking Chinese ginseng also, there's there's contraindication and everything, and especially in ginseng product, right? Together with a lot of other stuff. Chinese ginseng, because it's yang, okay? Most people have high blood pressure. You mentioned high blood pressure a few times, okay? If you take that, it'll actually raise your blood pressure more, okay? In that case, we don't bother taking American ginseng or Siberian ginseng. We just treat it, the high blood pressure, okay? But if you are yin or lacking or deficient, Asian ginseng or Chinese ginseng, the red ginseng would actually bring you up fairly quickly, very quickly. So it's good, but you have to know what state you're in to take ginseng. Okay, it has some modulating effect, but it's not as much as cordyceps. Okay, cordyceps, you really don't have to know what you're doing. Okay, and you take it and it'll modulate your immune system accordingly, whether modulate it up or down. Okay, so I kind of put ginseng and cordyceps side by side. Where cordyceps you don't have to know what you're doing, but ginseng you actually do. And that's my answer for it. And of course, American ginseng is the cheapest of them all, but it doesn't have the effect. It doesn't have that punch in it. So that's my story about the ginseng. The other thing is, there was some text on Tianchi. Okay, Changqi. There's about a dozen different names for it because it's been around so long since the ancient days, and most of the Chinese culture, in the Chinese culture, everything has been around so long that the names change for a lot of stuff, and even the way you do things change a little bit. Okay, but the Tianchi from the last talk last week, people probably know what it is now. Okay, it's actually come from a root of a plant. It's actually a root, and grow in certain what do you call it, environment, way up high in the mountains and so forth. And it's good for, first of all, moving blood. Okay, we know that anything that happened to us, whether we're sick in any fashion or we have we got injured, right? There's stagnation of blood. That's the reason why we get black and blue and so forth. Okay, so we need to move blood. So when you take Tianchi, you'll find that the pain goes away. Okay, because you've actually moved blood, you've actually increased the rate of repairs and so forth. Okay, and the thing is, what I mentioned last week too, it seems contradictory in that it'll stop bleeding at the same time. Okay, so the soldiers long ago used to have some powder in their pockets, and if they do have bleeding of any sort from an arrow or a sword or something, they would take some topically, put it on, and the rest of it you take it in, you digest it, and it works quite well, and so the soldiers can continue fighting. Okay. So my talk here is really how to reverse the pains. Similar to the topic is same as Dr. Smith, and so let's talk about that. Acute pain, as Dr. Smith mentioned, is usually a sudden onset, and it's caused by something specific, like a blow to the leg or something. Car accident, we have lots of those. It's sharp in quality, but it normally doesn't last long. 6 months, usually supposed to be tops. And it usually go away when there's no longer underlying cause for that pain. That means it repaired somehow by itself or by the clinic. Chronic pain, on the other hand, the body continues to send signals to your brain. Okay? Notice it sends signals to the brain, even after the injury is healed. Okay? And this can last for years. Chronic pain, as you know, for most people, and we've seen them around, can limit your mobility and reduce your flexibility, strength, and endurance. This makes it a challenge, okay, to perform daily tasks and activities. So how can we actually control this? If you look at some of the examples that you've seen probably on TV or performances and so forth, there are people who lie in beds of nails. How are they able to do that? and still smile at you. Okay, it means that they're able to control the pain. Secondly, there are people who can walk on fire. How do they do that? Same, controlling the pain. And some people can take a large needle, and you've seen those, and shove it through, right, their skin, and probably coming out the other side too. So they're piercing their skin and hauling an object that is tethered to that pin and just pull it. Okay? It sounds gross, but those are demonstration of how to control pain. All right? And you look at these people, they go into meditation just before. Okay? And I'll talk about that in a few minutes and how it actually works. So now we're going to look at some of the pathology. You can call it the mechanism of operation of how the pain propagates through the body. So normally what happens to the average human being is when you're pricked, say in the arm, the signal passes through the peripheral nerve to the central nervous system. And it goes into a specific part in the brain. Okay? This information is computed with the existing memory. Okay, so you must have some kind of memory. And out comes a signal. Depending on the signal and how the signal is interpreted, okay, there might be no pain or there might be pain. Okay. And at this point, this signal travels back as pain or no pain to the original, or to the origin, point of origin. Okay, that's basically how it works in the normal person. And how it, so look at it deeper now. If you look at the sense of touch, okay, just massage yourself a little bit, sense of touch. The sense of touch is much faster. It propagates along the nervous system much faster than the pain signal. Okay, very much faster. And we can do that by probably pinching yourself, okay? Or you tap yourself, you can actually feel that pain faster. And when you pinch yourself, you have to realize that there's pain, and then it comes in. Okay, so there is a really time difference between them. You look at microseconds anyway. So in the peripheral nervous nerve and the CNS, the central nervous system, there are gates along, okay? And these gates open and close along the nervous system. So if you touch yourself, massage or just touch yourself, at the same time you receive a pain stimulus, right? That sense of touch would get to the gate faster. There are gates along the central nervous system and the peripheral nerve too. So there are different fibers, okay? One for pain and one for just touch, or, you know, carassin, or is it carassin you use? I haven't spoken that word in a long time. Anyway, just rubbing, okay? So when this happens, if you do them together, you'll find that the touch sensation would reach the gate faster than the pain sensation. And if that happens, what you can do, what it does is actually modulate the pain. So when you, say for instance, you, somebody, I mean, the doctor wants to put a needle in you, right, to inoculate you. Okay, I'm not talking about COVID here. Okay, so you're scared. So naturally, what would you do? Okay, if you're scared, is actually pinch the area. When you pinch the area, that sensation of touch actually gets to that gate. It's not far away. The gate, it gets to the gate faster than than that pain, and that's the reason why massaging and so actually do modulate pain. Okay, so what happens? There are several gates that go into the brain, and when this pain stimulus, it's not the pain yet, it's actually just a stimulus, okay, gets to the specific point in the brain, and if the brain is touched at the same time, okay, in that spot, that specific point, it actually modulates that signal also. Okay, that's how this quantum physics work. So at this point in time, this information is at the specific point. Now it enters the brain further, and memory is involved now. So we have two things: external stimuli or stimulus, and the memory. When you combine the two of them, okay, then it spew out, your brain spew out a resultant, and the resultant, whether it's positive or negative, this is the reason why you meditate before, as I mentioned, so you can get positive memories, bring forward positive memories, and it'll nullify that resultant signal. Okay, and then you'll have a non-pain signal that would be returning to the point of origin. Does that make sense? Okay, so to put it in short, if you can touch a specific point in your brain or on top of your brain, okay, you can nullify pain signals instantly. And we'll talk about instantaneous reaction in a second. Okay, so there are two controllable variables. One is to touch the specific point on the brain, so you can actually control that. Secondly, the second point in which you can control is a positive frame of mind. All right, so those two things are critical in reducing and eliminating pain. Okay, you can literally eliminate pain instantly if you do that. So for those people, I mean, Dr. Smith have seen me, and Dr. Troy, he's on the line too. They've all seen me. Okay, my clinic, everyone, even if the doctor tells them you only have a couple of months to live, and in fact, just a few weeks to live because of whatever ailment you have, like cancer or anything like that, you see them come in with a positive frame of mind. Okay, and this is the reason why it's so important, as Dr. Smith mentioned before, it's so important that you have a positive frame of mind. All right, two variables that is critical to controlling pain. Okay, now we have the new way of doing things. All right, so the new way is using ancient Qigong principles. The reason why I bring this forward is because it's been proven since the Stone Age. They have implemented since the Stone Age that shows that they were practicing these principles since then. And you look at quantum science is actually the same. So we bring in forward the ancient Qigong principles, quantum science, modern tools, using modern tools, okay? Including frequencies, very important. And with the combination of all this, this sort of become the new integrative style or integrative medicine. Okay, so let's look at the quantum science now and Qi propagation. Qi means energy. Whether I say energy or Qi, it's the same word. Okay, so we're looking at Qi propagation also. So when there's an external stimulation at the site, there is an explosion of energy. The energy doesn't go in a straight line at that instant in time. It just explodes like a bomb. Okay, and it propagates in all directions. Some of the energy enters a very narrow strand, which we call the nervous system. But more of it enters the Qi pathway, which is everywhere. Okay, so we have this explosion that goes everywhere. All right, just you have a single piece of wire that sticks out. Okay, you call it the nervous system. How much you think of that explosion will go into that piece of wire compared to everywhere else, right? Think about it. So quantum physics shows that energy pathway transfers energy instantaneously, right? The way it does that also, it follows the path of least resistance, okay? Quantum science proves that, you know, you can say something here or you can treat something here, and we do that a lot. You can call it radionics, or we call it Qi projection and Qi emission. Okay, we can treat someone instantly, and we've done that in our classes. That's to show people that, hey, you can actually do that too, right? We project Qi or emit Qi to say Australia. Okay, and what we've done in the class is ask the family member, and they calculate the time, okay? Instantly within, say, 9 o'clock or what time it is now. At 9 o'clock, that person should feel a change in the shift, and they would probably just get up and start walking, okay? And we've done that many times over. So we know that there's a quantum shift there, okay? There's no time and space. So you can instantly do that to the opposite side of the world. Okay, for this reason, because it travels in the path of least resistance, this Qi or energy, it's on the same side of the body as opposed to the opposite side, okay? The opposite side has to do with the nervous system, okay? Because what happens on this side, which is my right side, I don't know what if the image is flipped there, it goes to the central nervous system, right? And it switches over to the other side. So this side now, this side of the brain is affected, like stroke victims, all right? It affects the other side. And that is purely, what do you call it, the nervous system issue, okay? But if you want to remove pain, we doing it the quantum way, right, is pretty well instantaneous. All right, and this is the reason why when we touch parts of your head, and we have a map of the landscape of your head too. If you touch a part of your head for that specific pain in any part in your body, including your feet, okay, that pain can instantly disappear. And Dr. Smith, you can just give an example of one of the person that you've actually helped that way. Dr. Smith?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you want to say something? Just one example. We have too many examples to talk about, but just one.
Yeah, I mean, I had a woman that had a year and a half of plantar fasciitis, severe pain in the bottom of the foot, and nobody could get to first base. And when I did my acupuncture point finder and the grounding on the area of pain, and I located the area on the skull, and in 5 minutes the pain was totally gone and it never came back.
Excellent. You see, that's what the results we're looking at, okay? And most of the patients that come to us, they basically have unfixable or untreatable issues, okay, outside of our clinic. And we see them on a daily basis. Anyway, Nye Matrix is based on, as I mentioned before, ancient Qigong principle quantum physics, okay, and can reverse pain instantly with a single touch, okay, not too many touches, one single touch. And it seems brazen to say that, but it's actually true. So I'm not going to lie to you, it is true. So for the most effective therapy, you should be looking at, it has to be simple, stress-free. You remember we talking about having a good frame of mind? It has to be stress-free. You don't stress the person out to remove pain. You don't create more pain to remove pain, okay? It has to be non-invasive, right? Because if it's invasive, you're creating more pain. And of course, pain-free. Does that make sense? Yeah, integrative medicine now, a natural medicine. We, for chronic pain, we look at the symptoms. I mean, that's the chief complaint, right? That the person has as they come in to see you at the clinic. So we look at the chief complaint, which is the symptom, pain in the arm, maybe. Then we look at the pathway of the pain, the pathology. We work backwards through the pathology, and then we get to the splinter or the cause of the ailment, and we treat the splinter, okay? When anyone comes into my clinic, I know Dr. Smith is the same, right? For chronic pain, okay, and we know that this caused by an internal organ imbalance or something internally. It's not external now. It might be external before, but because it become chronic, it actually moved internally. So we would go after the splinter. Okay, forget the pathology, forget the symptomology. We go after the splinter. You correct the splinter, everything goes away. If they say, oh, I have a little bit of residual pain because my muscles was also so tight for the last 20 years, and I've treated people that have pain for 4 to 5 years, okay? Like basically all their life. and the muscles are so tight. After you finish your splinter treatment, then you have to relax the muscles, okay, and let them feel ordinary. So we do a little bit of exercise and training, and I don't do it myself. I just explain it, and the person goes home and do it. That's how we do our treatment in the clinic. Okay, so when you get rid of the splinter, of course, the illness would disappear because that's what's causing the illness. And it could also be an exogenous attack too. That means something from outside actually caused you to have that. So you have to figure out what it is from the outside that caused you to have this, right? And once you can figure that out and treat it, then the problem would never come back, not unless you do the same thing again. And that's the only way you wouldn't have reoccurrence or hardly any real reoccurrence of that issue, and it brings your body back to optimal health. So let's look at some of the systemic issues now. Okay, how much time do we have here? Oh, we have lots of time. We have another 2 hours left. So you hear the buzzwords now: a compromised immune system. Okay, so this is a key and is essential to build a strong platform to support your health. Okay, so many times people come into the clinic and they have chronic issues. I would tell them, let me build a strong and a stable platform for you. And it has to do with your immune system. Okay. And, you know, something you explain to them, and they know that because they've been to many others practitioners before you. Okay. So they know that maybe this is the way out. So we're going to look how we can quantify and qualify the immune state. And out there, health practitioners usually make assumption whether you have a compromised immune system or not, depend on the illness. If you have cancer and so forth, or the COVID, for instance, these days, they would say, oh, you have a compromised immune system. Is there any quantitative, you know, definition for that? Okay. So because we are able to actually quantify this, all right, so we know that what to do with the immune system and how it actually responds. So where is the share screen here?
It's on the bottom stand.
There we go.
Yeah.
Video file, share screen. Okay, let me see how this works. Share screen, easiest with 2 monitor. Okay. How do I share?
Click the button and it opens up, and then it should say
How
share.
do I share this screen here?
Yeah. And then you click on your desktop the slide that you want to show.
I have, okay, let's try it. I share the screen. Okay. Let's see if you can see this. Can you see that now?
No.
No?
No. It should say, when you click it, it should say share screen. You click that.
I click on share screen.
Yeah, and then it opens up. It says video file or share screen. So you click the share screen.
I did click the share screen.
Click it.
Let me go back and see if I can do that again. Share screen again.
Yeah, click it.
Okay.
And then open up.
Oh, that's it. Ah.
Yeah. Then it says share screen. Click that.
Okay. So are you seeing this now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah. And if you click the run the slide, it'll be like the full screen.
You click the one on the slide.
Slideshow.
This one here. Okay, here we go. So this is the immunity health scale. The immunity health scale shows the maximum is 100%. Okay, nobody is Superman or Superwoman. So I don't expect you to be here. I expect you to be here. Okay, normal, healthy person. So you're perfectly normal here, roughly about 80% or so. You're perfectly normal. Like Dr. Smith, he's perfectly normal. Within this region here, to the 0 line or the reference line, okay, you could have reactive diseases. Not necessarily. If you're completely healthy, then you have no reaction to anything at all. You just feel great. Okay. But in this section here, you could have reactive diseases, things like colds and flu, just slight colds and flu, not every day. Okay, you can have slight, what do you call it, allergies and so forth, and these we call reactive diseases. Okay, and the chronic disease is below the 0 mark. Okay, it's chronic disease, and usually in this area here, people would not have a reaction to colds and flu and diseases and so forth. So you'll find, I mean, I hear this so many times. You know, I'm the healthiest person in the group. I never had a cold. Everyone else had a cold. And now I have cancer. I don't understand it. It's because you were in this area all the time, in the chronic disease area. So your body, you don't have the fighting cells to react. Okay? So what happens is, but the cold could actually kill you. Okay? It could be fatal because you don't have any fight in you, none of the fighting cells. Okay? And this is the reason why this chart is so important, to know where you are. And if you think you're healthy because you don't have any responses or reactivity to simple stuff, to simple allergens and so forth, okay, then you better check yourself out to make sure you're not in this area here. Okay, remember what I said before, there's nobody in this area because nobody's Superman. Even I'm not Superman. Okay. All right. So yes, just be careful. If you have a few sniffles here and there, that's okay. But if you have nothing at all for a couple of years, then you should check yourself out. And we have ways of defining this line. Okay. The best way and the simplest way is actually to check your pulse. All right. But the pulse is much more complicated than Western pulse checking. And it's everything we define from the shape. If you draw a graph, is the shape of every single graph, the magnitude of every graph, and all the descriptions and so forth behind it. So it actually is quite complicated, but this is the reason why you need to go to a healthcare practitioner who actually knows how to check this, to actually check it for you to find out where you are, right, in the scheme of things, and not guessing on whether or not you have compromised immune system or not. Okay, stop sharing. There we go. Okay. What's that? Stop sharing. Does that work? Oh, it says stop share screen. Oh, there it is.
Question.
Okay.
Stanley, I have a question for you.
Yes.
How do you deal with scars in relationship to chronic pain?
Well, scars, how do we treat it? We actually stimulate it a little bit, like put in either laser light, use your Nye matrix. In fact, not only scars, but swelling, like if you get injured, you know it's swollen. You have phlegm. When you touch the Nye matrix point, you can physically see the swelling goes down, and it does the same with scars too. But the scars takes longer than that. You actually don't see the scar reduce in size. You have to do it repeatedly, and it'll go down in size. Okay, we do ovarian cysts. We do scar tissue, if any kind of internal operation. Okay, within the abdominal area or any part, even in lung, right? If there's scar tissue from pneumonia and so forth, we can also do that through treatments and treatments alone. if you'd like, or you can combine it with herbs and different products. Okay, so I like to combine things. Okay, so you have your treatment, and then you have the herbals, or what do you call it? The herbal section. Okay, and then if it has to do with mental issues, and a lot of pain and so has to do with mental issues also, then we can do a little consultation to you. So there's 3 phases in which we go through on almost anything. All right, but yeah, 9 matrix point would bring the scar tissue down for sure. Okay, so we're okay with that?
Yeah, we had a question from Sandy R. She wondered what foods to avoid for pain and inflammation. My experience, and you can share yours also, tropical foods are lean or expansive. So if you have swelling and chronic pain, you don't want to eat pineapples or bananas or oranges, because from a yin yang standpoint, that's going to make swelling worse. What's your feeling on that?
That's absolutely correct. That's exactly what I was going to say. Those kind of foods would actually, because they're not only yin in that sense, but what you call damp foods. Any foods that look damp to you, right? Like soups and so would actually cause a little bit more inflammation if you take a lot of drink a lot of soup. So anything that seemingly, like nutrition, we can spend all day and all night. It's like a whole session, okay? Like a whole semester of work. So the best way to explain to people, I find, is to say anything that looks damp to you, it is damp, right? Anything that looks dry to you, then it would help to remove some dampness.
How about a dry martini?
Dry martini could do that, although liquor could dampen you because it's fluid and so forth. But you have a drying agent, right, in fluid, so it might work out to be neutral. Okay, and the thing is, it's preparation too. You can take a food that is damp, but not overly damp, just on the borderline of being damp. And if you barbecue it, for instance, it will actually become, or roast it or something, it will become drying food. It could become drying food. Okay, one of the best, you mentioned tropical fruits, is plantain. Plantain is so dry, right? So if you have dampness, you can eat plantain, not banana. Banana does the opposite. They look almost the same, but banana would make you damp, and plantain, make sure you get it right, because those fruits look similar, and don't pick up the wrong one in the grocery store. Okay, I want to know what Dr. Nye and Dr. Smith told you, because you did pick up the wrong fruit. Okay, so plantain would dry you, bananas would make you more damp.
Yeah. And also any type of refined carbohydrates with sugar, that'll insulin, which then causes inflammation. So any sugar, you're going to be in trouble.
Of course, yeah. We stay away from all the sugars. I mean, this whole society, all the foods is full of sugar.
Well, they start them off in the baby food they have. It's loaded in sugar.
Well, that's a good training. That's absolutely good training. You train the kid from small,
right,
and they cannot leave it. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to talk about here is WOM. Okay, the World Organization of Natural Medicine. I did speak about it last week. And I guess you understand most of it because I guess some people ask me some question which I knew that they understood what I said, but they're asking further question like things like if I don't graduate this year, is it still viable for next year? Yes, it is. You can take 10 years to do it. It doesn't really matter. But we're looking for people to be graduated at the end of this October, this coming October. So this course is going to start in the beginning of May and is going to be ending probably a week before the graduation date in October, the end of October. Okay. Yes, and if you don't want to graduate in October, of course, you can take your time and finish the course. Okay, and that's my part of it. Thank you, folks, everyone.
Yeah. So there was a question there. Someone flashed up there because where are these points on the brain? I think I experienced this in the adjustment, the other tissues causing pain. Well, basically, Dr. Ngui and his predecessors have located certain areas of the brain that, or the scalp or cranium, that relate to specific anatomical parts of the body. So you have to study that matrix system, and Dr. Ngui teaches that course where you learn the actual locations of these different areas, and then with a electronic point finder, putting the ground on the area of pain, and then searching in the area where that anatomical location of the brain is part, you'll find the hot spot, and that's the one that you treat.
Yeah. If you're interested in this, we have an online course, and you can hop on anytime and hop off anytime. It's if you go to Ngui, my last name, Academy, Ngui Academy. You can also go to ngustyle.com or Ngustyle only, and it'll take you to Ngui Academy. And you can register for the course. Okay, and it's all automatic.
I got to tell you that when I was up in Markham, Ontario, I switched my plane flights to take Stanley's course on a Monday morning. I was supposed to go home. And it was one of the best things I've ever done because, again, you want something simple and effective. And that's what healing's all about. Not invasive, but effective and reestablishing balance. And the other interesting thing is, I presented like 18 different vitamins, but the vitamins are actually a matrix for conveying a frequency, because I've literally cloned the frequency of a vitamin and put it into water, and we get the same physiologic effect. So the actual vitamin is a carrier for the actual frequency that does the healing.
That's why I mentioned with quantum physics there, frequency is a big part of it.
Well, it's the whole part. It's when the frequencies get out of balance, that's when you get disease, and why it spreads, because the healthy cells next door start vibrating at a pathological frequency, and then they go haywire.
Yeah, we had a talk on frequencies a while back, and we talk about the effect on vibrational object and how it affects another object. Okay, so it's we're looking at what do you call it, reaching that phase. Okay, vibrational phase, not only the vibrational frequency, but we're looking at the vibrational phase also.
Okay, there's a point for arthritis. Well, where's the arthritis? If it's in a knee joint, there's areas on the skull that relate to the knee. If it's in the elbow or wrist, there's specific points on the skull for that. So arthritis is just a symptom. It's not it's just a wagging tail of the dog. So by stimulating the point, it turns the switch off so that the energy starts to flow and rebalance in the area, and the inflammation reduces, infections can reduce, and then you get healing. So again, it depends on what joint and what part of the body the arthritis is that dictates what area of the head that you stimulate. So zymescence and clinical oils when on heart meds such as Coumadin. Coumadin's rat poison. So, if you can get a bleed in your brain in an organ taking this stuff, the zymescence will actually thin the blood. And so you got to be careful if you're on Coumadin and you're taking zymescence or even the clinician's oils. Let me see, and one high blood pressure medication. So you're doing all the wrong things, basically. You're treating symptoms with poisons, and you're expected to get better. That to me is lunacy. You got to define the underlying reason for the blood pressure. Do you have an underactive thyroid? Do you have hardening of the arteries? Do you have parasites? Do you have clogged blood vessels? The microcapillary system. To me, this is barbaric. You're just treating a symptom with a bunch of poisons. What do you think?
Well, also there's treatment for it for heart condition, and also we have to look at the plumbing and everything. Like as you were saying, Dr. Smith, you have to look at all these variables, right? But yes, there's treatment that would actually get rid of your issues fairly quickly, and even things like atrial fibrillation, for instance, we can actually reduce that and nullify it actually fairly quickly. One of the hardest thing you can do for the heart in terms of fibrillation is ventricular fibrillation. That's the hardest of them all, not atrial fibrillation. Atrial fibrillation is easy to treat. But yes, we can treat those, it just take a longer time, that's all. And all the mental issues that creates pain too, right? Mental issues is well known to create all kinds of pains in your body. So once you address that directly, address the brain directly, you should be able to get rid of all that fairly quickly.
But it's interesting, the natural B vitamins, because Dr. From Standard Process, Royal Lee, discovered back in the 30s that natural B vitamins have B4. Now, the FDA doesn't recognize the existence of vitamin B4, but it's real. Synthetic Bs don't have it. The B4 literally stimulates the electrical conductivity in the Purkinje fibers, which run down the septum of the heart, so that the ventricles get stimulated properly to beat. So, most people don't get enough natural B vitamins in their diet. So along with the 9 matrix system, you also want to kind of test to see if they're deficient in the B vitamins, especially B4.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. There's a question there. Is there a spot on the brain
And
for the lower back and for inflammatory and the right thumb also? She believes that they're too connected.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a spot on there, and it'll reduce inflammation, as Dr. Smith said before. Yeah, it's easy. You just have to know. It's just knowledge. That's all.
Yeah, I had a patient in today. He had lower back pain, and I stimulated, probably about a half a dozen points, and he felt, immediate releases. He says it wasn't totally gone, but he said it much improved. And it usually takes like 48 or 72 hours for the body to kind of calm down. So it's kind of interesting. But another little hidden factor with back pain or any other kind of pains, the teeth. You can have a minor interference on your bite. You may have had a filling put in or a crown put in, and you have a minor interference. I had a woman in with knee pain about 6 weeks ago, and I took a minor interference off a crown that a dentist had made for her, and her knee pain disappeared immediately. So, there's imbalances of energies, but there's also the bite component that unfortunately most dentists don't even know exists. So it's really frustrating because they're running around looking for answers. And if nothing else works, just have your cat wag the tail in front of your camera, and that'll work.
But cranial adjustment
Right.
is so important, right? And it's such an important part of actually looking at how you're going to recover any pain issue in any part of your body. We look at alignment in the head and so forth too. We're looking at matrix point on the head to remove sciatic pain and to remove, as you mentioned before, back pain and so forth. So yeah, life is easy. Okay, it's just a little bit of knowledge you need. That's all.
Absolutely. I mean, I studied with Dr. Rothbard. He was over in Italy at the time, and he was teaching me about pronated feet. You could have a pronated feet or a collapsed arch, and that could be causing neck pain. So there's so many different variables in the equation.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the practitioner who's effective as a healer, you know, looks at the whole body and not just, you know, one little area. Like, oh, you have shoulder pain, I'm going to treat your shoulder pain. Most times, the source of the pain is away from the shoulder, somewhere else.
The whole system is a biofeedback system. So the top can fix the bottom, and the bottom can fix the top.
Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway, so what's our next program going to be, Stanley? You have a good topic that we can talk about?
I don't know. It's your decision.
I don't care. You know, this stuff is so interesting to me. I'm always learning. And
you know something? What is a silent killer, and what actually is fatal to this whole human population?
fear.
Heart attacks and stroke.
Yeah.
So maybe we can talk about that next time. How about that?
Sounds good. Anyway, thank you, Stanley. I know your schedule's busy, but I always enjoy your wisdom, and you're my teacher, you're my mentor, so I keep learning from you.
And I really appreciate your wisdom too, and I learn from you also.
Well, that's what life's all about, you know.
Yeah.
I kiddingly say you come out of life ahead of the game because we're all born naked and you die with a suit on.
Yeah.
So great. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Any other questions? Jared, is there any other questions? Thank you. Nicole, okay. No more questions. So I guess we did a good job.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well, thank you
All right. Good night, everyone.
Yeah, good night.
Good night. Good night.
Dreams. Stay well.
Yeah.
Next week.
Yes.